The moment Spencer Walsh called my security protocol's legacy paranoia, I knew I was watching a man dig his own grave with a PowerPoint presentation. I'm Aaron Davis, 49 years old, and I've been protecting government systems longer than this kid's been out of college. I was sitting there in that glass conference room, watching Spencer wave his hands around like he was conducting an orchestra of incompetence. "We need to embrace cloud-first security solutions," he kept saying. Aaron's approach is stuck in the 90s. The guy had been COO for exactly 6 months and thought he understood cybersecurity better than someone who'd spent 18 years keeping classified data safe from people a lot smarter than him. What Spencer didn't grasp, what none of these corporate types ever grasped, was that I wasn't just some IT guy you could swap out like a broken router. I held top-secret clearance. I designed the security architecture that protected $8 million in defense contracts. Every morning at 0800, I authenticated into systems that would automatically lock down if I didn't check in. It wasn't bureaucracy, it was national security. But try explaining that to a guy who thinks disruption is a business strategy instead of what happens when you break things that shouldn't be broken. My Navy background shaped everything about how I approached security. 8 years on nuclear submarines taught me that some protocols exist for reasons you can't see until something goes catastrophically wrong. In the service, we called it normalization of deviance, the slow drift toward accepting lower standards until disaster becomes inevitable. Spencer was about to normalize his way into a federal investigation. The writing had been on the wall for weeks. First, they moved my office from the secure wing to a cubicle next to marketing. Rachel Anderson from legal kept shooting me worried glances during meetings, like she could see the train wreck coming but couldn't stop it. Dennis Green, my systems engineer, started documenting everything without being asked. Smart guy knew which way the wind was blowing. Then Spencer started scheduling efficiency reviews without inviting me. I'd catch glimpses of presentations about security modernization and legacy system optimization. Corporate speak for fire the old guy and hire someone cheaper. I'd been through enough restructuring to recognize the pattern. When management stops including you in decisions about your own department, you're already dead. You just don't know when the funeral is. The day it happened, Spencer called it an all-hands strategy session. 20 people crammed into the main conference room, and Spencer standing there with his laptop like he was about to change the world. Carl Foster, our founder, sat at the head of the table looking like a man who'd already made peace with whatever was coming. Gary Collins, the CEO, kept checking his phone like he had somewhere more important to be. "We're streamlining our security operations," Spencer announced, clicking to his first slide. "Moving to a best-in-class vendor relationship that will reduce our overhead by 40% while improving our security posture." I almost laughed. Improving security by firing the guy who designed it. That was like improving your car's performance by removing the engine. The room went quiet. Nicole Baker from HR was taking notes like her life depended on it. Howard Evans, our CFO, nodded along with the enthusiasm of a man watching his budget projections come true. Floyd Williams from procurement looked confused. He knew enough about government contracts to smell trouble. "Aaron," Spencer said, turning to me with that practiced smile, "your position will be transitioning to our new partner, Cyberflow Solutions. They'll be handling all security operations moving forward." The silence stretched. Dennis was staring at his hands. Rachel had gone pale. Everyone else was suddenly fascinated by their coffee cups. 20 years of combined experience in that room, and nobody had the spine to point out the obvious problem. I didn't react. 18 years in the Navy teaches you not to flinch when someone's about to torpedo their own ship. "And my clearance?" I asked, keeping my voice level. Spencer waved his hand like he was swatting a fly. "They've got their own certified professionals. Government approved. Very cutting edge." That's when I knew he had absolutely no idea what he'd just done. My clearance wasn't transferable. It was tied to me personally, verified through background checks that took 18 months, connected to security protocols I'd built from the ground up over nearly 2 decades. You can't just hand that off to some contractor and hope it works. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my security badge. It wasn't like the plastic cards everyone else carried. This one was black, laminated with federal seals, connected to biometric scanners throughout the building. It had taken me 6 months to get after joining the company, and it represented access to systems most people in the room didn't even know existed. I placed it on the table with a soft click. "You'll need this," I said. Spencer laughed, actually laughed. "That's just for building access, right? The vendor will get their own badges." I looked at him for a long moment. Around the table, people were starting to shift uncomfortably. Rachel opened her mouth like she was going to say something, then thought better of it. In the Navy, we had a saying, "Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake." "Sure," I said. "They'll figure it out." The meeting ended with handshakes and promises about smooth transitions. Spencer was already talking about celebrating the cost savings, probably planning some corporate retreat to pat himself on the back. Carl Foster looked like he wanted to say something but didn't have the backbone. Gary Collins was already mentally spending the money they thought they'd save. I gathered my things and walked out, leaving the badge on the table like a grenade with the pin pulled. Dennis caught up with me in the hallway, his face tight with worry. "Aaron, what the hell just happened in there?" he asked, glancing around to make sure we weren't overheard. "They outsourced cybersecurity to the lowest bidder," I said. "What happens next isn't really my problem anymore." Dennis ran his hands through his hair, "But the government systems, the clearance requirements, exactly." I stopped walking and looked at him. "Dennis, you're a good engineer. Start documenting everything you know about our security protocols. In 48 hours, you're going to be the only person left who understands any of it." His face went white. "They can't just lock us out of our own systems, can they?" "They're not locking us out. I'm removing my access." There's a difference. What Spencer and the executive team didn't understand was that my security wasn't just about passwords and firewalls. I maintained direct encrypted channels with the Pentagon. I held authentication keys for classified databases that updated every 24 hours. Every system we used to interface with government contractors required my personal verification, not my job title, not my department, not some generic admin account. Me back in the Navy. Submarine operations taught me that critical systems need critical people. You can't just swap out the nuclear reactor operator with someone from the galley and expect the boat to keep running. But corporate America thinks expertise is interchangeable, like they're trading Pokemon cards. That afternoon, I made my first call. Michelle Harris at the Pentagon, someone I'd worked with for 8 years across 3 different projects. Military folks understand the importance of proper protocols. "Michelle," I said, "I'm no longer employed by Axion Technologies. My security designation needs to be updated immediately." There was a pause. Michelle knew me well enough to catch the implications. "Aaron, are you sure about this? That's going to trigger automatic reviews of all your company's clearances." "I'm sure." They terminated my position and handed security operations to an outside contractor. Michelle whistled low. "Who approved that transition?" "Nobody who understands what they approved." "Jesus. Aaron, you know this is going to cascade, right? Every contract, every access point, every certification tied to your designation." "I know." The second call was to my lawyer, Jim Rodriguez. Nothing dramatic, just a notification that I was no longer authorized to represent Axion in any security capacity. Jim had handled military contractors before and knew the drill. "Standard disassociation paperwork," he asked, "by the book. I want everything documented properly." "Time sensitive?" They gave me until 5 p.m. to clean out my desk. Jim laughed, but it wasn't funny. They fired their CISO without a transition plan? That's either brave or stupid. I'm voting for stupid. The third call was to Rachel Anderson. As head of legal, she'd been in enough compliance reviews to understand what was coming. "Rachel, it's Aaron. I know you can't talk freely, but you should know I'm filing my disassociation papers this afternoon. My security clearance will be updated to reflect my employment termination." Silence. Then very quietly, "Aaron, please tell me there's some kind of backup plan I don't know about." "There isn't. Spencer thought my job was filing paperwork and checking boxes." "Oh God." Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. "The DoD contracts, the GSA certification, they all require my personal authorization." I tried to explain that in every compliance review for the past 2 years. Nobody wanted to listen to legacy paranoia. How long do we have? "My authentication expires at midnight tonight. After that, the systems default to lockdown mode." Rachel was quiet for a long moment. "Is there anything?" "Anything at all we can do?" I thought about it, really thought about it. These people had just thrown away 18 years of my work, like it was expired milk. They'd insulted my expertise, questioned my relevance, and handed my life's work to some contract company that probably thought cybersecurity was about installing antivirus software. "Spencer made his choice," I said. "Now he gets to live with the consequences." That evening, I went home and systematically revoked my access to everything. It took 3 hours to go through all the systems. authentication servers, encryption keys, secure channels, biometric locks, audit trail authorizations, all of it tied to my personal credentials, all of it going dark at the stroke of midnight. The beautiful thing about good security is that it's designed to fail safely. When my authentication stopped working, the systems would default to lockdown mode. Classified databases would become inaccessible. Encrypted communications channels would go offline. Government portals that required my personal verification would simply stop accepting connections from Axion's network. I wasn't sabotaging anything. This was exactly how the systems were supposed to work when the authorized personnel were no longer authorized. The fact that Spencer had never bothered to understand this wasn't my fault. Around 11 p.m., my phone started ringing. First, Dennis, probably watching error messages cascade across his monitoring screens. Then Howard Evans, the CFO, his voice tight with panic. "Aaron, there's some kind of system error. We're getting locked out of the contract management portal." "That's not an error," I said calmly. "That's the system working as designed. But we need access for the morning briefing with you, Outsourced Cybersecurity, Howard. Call your new vendor." I hung up and turned off my phone by morning. Spencer Walsh would discover what I'd been trying to tell them for months. You can't just buy security from a catalog. You can't download clearance from the cloud. And you definitely can't replace 18 years of institutional knowledge with a PowerPoint slide about operational efficiency. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way. Spencer was about to get a masterclass in cybersecurity fundamentals, taught by the Department of Defense. Monday morning hit Axion Technologies like a brick through a stained glass window. Carl Foster was in the office by 7 a.m., 2 hours earlier than usual, carrying a leather briefcase like it owed him money. His usual routine involved a slow stroll, lukewarm coffee, and small talk with whoever was unlucky enough to be there early. Today he marched straight to Gary Collins's office and slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I heard about this later from Dennis, who was already at his desk trying to make sense of the error messages flooding his monitoring systems. Every screen in the Security Operations Center was flashing red. Government portals, access denied, defense contract database, authentication aliery, classified communications, connection terminated by 7:30. Spencer was stalking through the office like a man whose house was on fire. He'd clearly been up all night, probably on the phone with Cyberflow Solutions demanding answers they couldn't give. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, and he had that wild look people get when reality starts deviating from their PowerPoint presentations. "Where's Aaron?" He barked at Nicole from HR. "He's no longer employed here," she said carefully. "As of yesterday. I need his phone number. Now?" Nicole glanced around nervously. "I'm not sure I can provide personal information about former employees without—" "Give me the damn number." That's when Rachel Anderson emerged from the legal department, carrying a thick folder and wearing the expression of someone about to deliver very bad news. "Spencer," she said, "we need to talk privately." The emergency meeting lasted 20 minutes. When they came out, Spencer looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. Rachel had apparently explained what I'd tried to tell them months ago. My security clearance wasn't just a job perk. It was the legal foundation for every government contract they held. By 9 a.m., the first official notice arrived. An automated email from the Defense Security Service with the subject line, "Security clearance status update, immediate attention required." The message was bureaucratic but clear. Aaron Davis, designated security officer for Axion Technologies, had filed official termination papers. All contracts and access authorizations tied to his clearance were now under mandatory review. Until a replacement was properly vetted and certified, all classified activities were suspended. Spencer tried calling me. My phone went straight to voicemail. He tried my home number. Same result. Finally, he sent Dennis to my house like some kind of messenger boy. "Aaron," Dennis said, standing on my front porch looking miserable. "They're freaking out. Spencer wants to know if there's any way to, I don't know, undo this." I poured myself another cup of coffee and considered the question. "Dennis, do you remember what I told you about submarine protocols? Something about critical systems needing critical people. Right? When someone with nuclear reactor clearance leaves the boat, you don't just hand his job to the cook and hope for the best. You follow procedures. You get proper authorization. You maintain security protocols." Dennis nodded slowly, and they didn't follow procedures. They didn't even know what the procedures were. By 10 a.m., the second notice arrived. This one was from the General Services Administration, informing Axion that their vendor status was under review due to irregular security personnel changes. Translation: they were one step away from being kicked off the approved contractor list entirely. Howard Evans, the CFO, called an emergency meeting. The conference room looked like a war zone, empty coffee cups, scattered papers, and executives with the hollow-eyed look of people watching their quarterly projections evaporate in real time. "Okay," Howard said, trying to project calm authority. "What exactly do we need to get back online?" Rachel consulted her notes. "Aaron's replacement needs top-secret clearance, specific training in defense contractor protocols, and personal authorization from 3 different agencies. The fastest possible timeline is 6 months, assuming the candidate already has preliminary clearance. 6 months. Spencer's voice cracked. "We can't wait 6 months. Then we need Aaron back," Rachel said simply. That's when Spencer made his second catastrophic mistake. Instead of swallowing his pride and asking for help, he decided to double down on stupid. Can't we just keep using his credentials for a few weeks? Until the transition is complete. The room went dead silent. Rachel stared at him like he'd just suggested robbing a bank to solve their cash flow problems. "Spencer," she said very slowly, "that would be federal fraud, as in felony charges, prison time, and the kind of legal problems that make bankruptcy look like a parking ticket. But he worked here. We paid him. Those credentials should transfer with the job." Gary Collins, who'd been quiet through most of this, finally spoke up. "Spencer, I think you need to understand something. We didn't just fire an employee, we fired the keystone holding up our entire government contracting business." By noon, Cyberflow Solutions had officially admitted they couldn't access Axion's classified systems. Their government-approved professionals turned out to have commercial clearances, not the top-secret authorization required for defense work. Spencer had hired them based on their marketing brochures, without checking whether they were actually qualified for the job. The first contract cancellation came at 2 p.m. A $2.3 million project with the Department of Defense, suspended pending security review. The notice was polite but firm, until Axion could demonstrate proper security protocols with appropriately cleared personnel. All work would cease immediately. Spencer tried calling the project manager to explain the situation. The conversation lasted exactly 3 minutes before the DoD rep cut him off. "Mr. Walsh, we don't negotiate security requirements. Either you have proper clearance or you don't. Right now you don't." By 4 p.m., 2 more contracts had been suspended. The Pentagon had flagged Axion as a security risk in their vendor database. Other contractors were quietly distancing themselves, not wanting to be associated with a company that couldn't handle basic security protocols. Dennis found Spencer in his office, staring at his computer screen like it might spontaneously start working if he glared at it hard enough. "Any luck reaching Aaron?" Dennis asked. Spencer looked up, and for the first time since this whole mess started, he looked genuinely frightened. "He's not answering. Nobody's answering. It's like they all just disappeared." Dennis didn't have the heart to tell him the truth. "We hadn't disappeared. We were just done cleaning up after people who thought expertise was something you could order from Amazon." The rest of the week played out like a disaster movie in slow motion. Wednesday brought news that the General Services Administration had officially removed Axion from the approved vendor list. Thursday, the Department of Defense issued a formal security advisory recommending that other contractors exercise caution when working with Axion Technologies. In government speak, that's the equivalent of putting a skull and crossbones on your business card. Dennis called me Thursday evening, his voice hollow with exhaustion. "Aaron, it's over. They just laid off half the company. Rachel's looking for a new job. Howard's talking to bankruptcy lawyers." "What about Spencer?" He's not handling it well. Keeps saying this is all some kind of misunderstanding that can be fixed with the right phone call." Friday afternoon, Spencer showed up at my house. I was in the garage working on my motorcycle, something I'd been meaning to get to for months. Having free time was nice, even under the circumstances. He stood in my driveway like a door-to-door salesman who'd lost his samples, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary but looking like he'd slept in it. His usual confidence had evaporated, replaced by the desperate energy of a man watching his career circle the drain. "Aaron," he said, "we need to talk." "I didn't stop working. Nothing to talk about, Spencer. You made your decision. There's been a misunderstanding I didn't realize." I mean, nobody explained that your clearance was so integral to operations. I set down my wrench and looked at him. I explained it multiple times in writing. You called it legacy paranoia. His face flushed. Look, I made a mistake. I admit that, but we can fix this. I can get your position back, full salary, even a raise. Whatever you want. And my security clearance? You gonna magically restore that too? Spencer's confidence flickered. That's more complicated. But temporary measures, consulting arrangements, something to bridge the gap while we sort out the paperwork. Spencer, let me explain something to you. I stood up, wiping my hands on a shop rag. My clearance isn't a company asset. It's tied to me personally. When you fired me, you didn't just lose an employee. You lost the legal authority to handle classified information. Period. But there has to be something. There is something. You could have listened when I told you this would happen. You could have planned a proper transition. You could have treated 18 years of experience with a little respect instead of dismissing it as bloated operations. Spencer's composure finally cracked. This is insane. You can't just shut down an entire company because you're angry about being fired. I didn't shut down anything, I said calmly. I removed my access to systems that required my personal authorization. The fact that you built your entire business model around something you didn't understand isn't my problem. He stared at me for a long moment, probably running through all the corporate negotiation tactics he'd learned in business school. None of them applied here, because this wasn't a negotiation. This was physics, the Pentagon investigation, he said quietly. How long will that take? Depends on what they find. Could be weeks, could be months. They're very thorough when it comes to security breaches. Security breaches, we didn't breach anything. Spencer, you handed classified data responsibilities to an uncleared contractor. In the government's eyes, that's exactly what you did. He left without another word, probably to make more phone calls to people who couldn't help him. The company folded 3 weeks later. Carl Foster lost his house trying to cover the legal expenses. Gary Collins ended up managing a car dealership in Phoenix. The Pentagon investigation found no criminal wrongdoing, just catastrophic incompetence in security management. Cyberflow Solutions quietly removed Axion from their client testimonials page. As for Spencer, he bounced around a few tech startups before settling into a marketing role at a software company in Portland. Turns out, disrupted government contracting sector doesn't look great on a resume when potential employers dig into the details. I got a new job within 2 weeks. Turned out that experienced cybersecurity professionals with active top-secret clearances are in high demand, especially ones with a track record of actually understanding what they're protecting. My new employer spent 3 hours in the interview process just verifying that I really did have all the qualifications I claimed. Refreshing change from working for people who didn't know what questions to ask. The irony wasn't lost on me. Spencer had fired me to save money and improve efficiency. Instead, he destroyed an $8 million business and put 47 people out of work, all because he couldn't tell the difference between buying software and protecting national security. 6 months later, I ran into Dennis at a security conference. He'd landed on his feet at a defense contractor that actually valued institutional knowledge. We grabbed coffee and talked about the old days at Axion. You know what bothers me? Dennis said. Spencer still doesn't understand what he did wrong. I heard through the grapevine that he tells people you sabotage the company out of spite. I shrugged. Let him think that. Some people need to believe their failures are someone else's fault. Doesn't it bother you? Being the villain in his version of the story? Dennis, in my version of the story, I'm the guy who spent 18 years keeping classified information safe from people who didn't deserve access to it. Spencer's version doesn't change that. The thing about security work is that success is invisible. Nobody notices when you prevent disasters, stop breaches, or keep sensitive information out of the wrong hands. They only notice when protection fails. Spencer had mistaken my quiet competence for dispensability, efficiency for excellence, and cost reduction for improvement. He learned the difference, the hard way, just like they always do. Some lessons can only be taught by consequences, and consequences don't care about PowerPoint presentations or quarterly projections. They just are. Spencer wanted to disrupt traditional security models without understanding what those traditions were protecting. He got his disruption, just not the kind he was hoping for. In the end, you can't disrupt physics, and cybersecurity is just applied physics. When you remove the people who understand the systems stop working, regardless of how much money you think you're saving. The most expensive lesson in business isn't the one that costs you money. It's the one that teaches you the difference between what looks important in a boardroom and what actually matters in the real world.